In 1997, 39 people took their own lives in a mansion in San Diego. They were not poor. They were not uneducated. Among them, a former NASA contractor, a nurse, a school teacher, a software developer. They believed they were ascending to a spacecraft hidden behind the Hale-Bopp comet. The group was called Heaven's Gate, and every single one of them, at some point in their life, was a completely normal person. We like to think cult members are weak, desperate, naive. That's exactly what makes us vulnerable, because the most effective recruitment doesn't target the broken. It targets people exactly like you. Today, I'm going to show you the exact psychological steps cults use to recruit normal, intelligent people. Not to scare you, but because understanding this process is the only real protection against it. Let's start with the question everyone gets wrong. Who joins a cult? The instinctive answer: lost people, damaged people, people with no critical thinking. The research says something completely different. Dr. Margaret Singer, one of the world's leading cult experts, spent 40 years interviewing former cult members. Her conclusion: there is no personality type immune to cult recruitment. In fact, studies consistently show that cult members tend to be above average in intelligence, more curious, more idealistic, more open-minded. That last one is the key. Open-mindedness, one of the most celebrated traits in modern culture, is the single biggest vulnerability cults exploit. Think about it. A closed-minded person hears a new idea and shuts it down immediately. An open-minded person says, "Let me hear more." That gap between hearing and deciding is exactly where the process begins. And the process is not random. It is systematic. It is documented. And it follows the same pattern across every cult, every culture, every century. There are 3 stages. Imagine you've just moved to a new city. You don't know many people. You're figuring things out. Maybe you just went through a breakup. Maybe you changed jobs. Maybe you just feel like something is missing. You can't name it, but it's there. Psychologists call this a life transition moment. Cults call it an opportunity. Because cult recruiters are trained, and yes, they are trained, to identify people in transition. They're not looking for the most desperate person in the room. They're looking for the most open one. And when they find you, they don't talk about their beliefs. Not yet. They become your best friend. This is called love bombing. Suddenly, you have people who are genuinely interested in you, who listen to everything you say, who invite you to dinners, events, activities, who text you, who show up. Former NXIVM member Sarah Edmondson described her first encounter with the group. "I felt seen in a way I had never felt before. Everyone was warm, successful, interesting. I thought I had found my people." She was a working actress, intelligent, socially successful, completely unprepared. Because love bombing doesn't feel like manipulation. It feels like belonging. And belonging is one of the deepest human needs that exists. Psychologist Abraham Maslow placed it third in his hierarchy of needs, right after physical survival and safety. Cults weaponize that need with surgical precision. And once you feel it, once you feel genuinely welcomed and seen, you don't want to lose it. That is when stage 2 begins. It doesn't happen overnight. That's important to understand. If someone told you on day 1, cut off your family and friends, you'd walk away immediately. So they don't say that. Instead, it goes like this. The group starts taking up more of your time. Meetings, retreats, study sessions, volunteering, events, and your outside relationships naturally get less attention. Then, subtly, the group starts reframing those relationships. Your friends who express concern, they don't understand the path you're on. Your family who asks questions, they're not at your level yet. The outside world, people out there are lost. You've found something they haven't. This is called us versus them thinking, and it is used by every single cult ever documented, without exception. Stephen Hassan, former Mooney, now one of the world's leading cult recovery counselors, developed what he calls the BITE model: behavior control, information control, thought control, emotional control. Isolation serves all four. When your information only comes from the group, what they approve, what they share, what they allow, your reality starts to shift. You're not being lied to directly. You're just only hearing one side. And human brains are not built to detect that slowly. We are built to trust our environment. When your environment is controlled, your perception follows. By this point, the person is not in a cult, they're in a community. One they love, one that loves them back, one that gives their life structure and meaning, and that's what makes stage 3 so effective. This is the stage most people don't know exists, and it is the most sophisticated. Once someone is isolated from their outside life, the group begins to replace their identity. Not their name, not their face, their inner voice. Every cult has what researchers call loaded language, a set of special terms, phrases, and concepts that only members understand. NXIVM called negative emotions disintegrations. Scientology calls critical thinking suppressive. The Moonies called outsiders Satan's world. This language does something specific. It creates a new cognitive framework. When you have a word for something, you think about it differently. When your entire inner vocabulary comes from the group, when the way you understand love, success, failure, family, truth, all runs through their definitions, you stop being able to think outside their system. And then comes the final piece. The group introduces the concept of the old self and the new self. The old you, before joining, was lost, broken, asleep. The new you, inside the group, is awake, chosen, evolving. Leaving the group doesn't just mean losing friends, it means becoming the old, broken version of yourself again. That psychological trap is why people don't leave. Not because they're stupid, because leaving means losing their identity. Here's what nobody tells you about cults. The higher your intelligence, the more you're at risk, not less, because intelligent people are better at rationalization. When you point out a contradiction in the group's beliefs, a less analytical person might just feel confused and walk away. An intelligent person constructs an explanation. They defend the belief. To themselves. Psychologists call this motivated reasoning. And the smarter you are, the more effectively you do it. The 39 people who died in that San Diego mansion in 1997? Several of them had graduate degrees. They weren't fooled. They were convinced. There's a difference. So, what does the warning sign actually look like? Not a strange man in a robe handing you pamphlets. It looks like a group that makes you feel immediately, intensely accepted. It looks like ideas you're discouraged from questioning. It looks like relationships outside the group becoming negative influences. It looks like a language only insiders understand. It looks like a version of yourself that only exists inside that community. The research on cult exit is consistent on one thing. People don't leave because someone proved them wrong. They leave because someone outside the group kept showing up. A parent who kept calling. A friend who never stopped reaching out. Someone who loved the person, not the member. Which means the real protection isn't skepticism. It's connection. The stronger your outside relationships, the harder it is for any group to replace them. That's not an opinion. That's what 40 years of research says. If this changed how you see the people around you, share this video, because someone you know might already be in stage 1, and they have no idea.